Welcome to the Business Bear Podcast, Garrett County Business Development's local business marketing podcast, hosted by me, local radio personality and the voice of Garrett County, Connor Norman. Why Business Bear? Well, not only are black bears famous in our community, but the acronym actually stands for something. It stands for Business Expansion Assistance and Retention Podcast. So on this show, we sit down and spend 15 to 30 minutes talking with our local business owners, state partners, and economic development professionals in Garrett County. It's our hope that you learn a lot, and we'll try to have some fun while we're at it. So stay tuned and buckle up. Let's get this show on the road. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thanks again for listening to the Business Bear Podcast. All day we've been doing our live recording event and having a lot of fun here at Garrett College. We want to thank them so much for being gracious hosts. We want to thank our caterer, Castleman Cafe, for all the awesome food and drinks we've been having. And most of all, we want to thank the businesses that have been coming in and talking with us all day. You know, they give us something to listen to. They've been informing us of some awesome things happening around the community. Of course, we want to thank all of our listeners again for tuning in and making this podcast possible. So we're excited. Right now, I have got a great crew in front of me, and I'm going to be introducing them here in just a few minutes. But I want to bring in my special co-host. I've got Commissioner Paul Edwards. Paul, how are you doing?
Hey, doing well. Thanks for the invitation to be here. Looking forward to it and excited about this event and the opportunities it provides.
This is going to be a lot of sports talk, so I think I had to bring in the authority. Not only are you a commissioner, not only are you a public school official, but you are also color commentary guy at KSJ, aren't you?
Yeah, that's an exciting role. Ben, Benji, and I, we enjoy doing that. So I don't know about number one, but I'm there.
Well, we appreciate it. I've had fun listening to you for years now, being back on the board or just, listening along to see how the boys and girls are doing in our basketball and football teams. So glad to have you here, Paul, and looking forward to talking about an exciting event. We're going to be talking about the Western Maryland Classic. And for those that aren't familiar, this is a big event, and I wouldn't even say big. I'd say it's a national event that has become another reason to put Garrett County on the map. What do you think, Paul?
No, I think it's an awesome event. Was able to attend last year as an old basketball coach. It gets me really excited. Some of the best talent in the country coming to Little Garrett County to showcase their skills and bring some good publicity to our county, showcase our facilities here at Garrett College. Our high school teams, local high school teams got to participate. But also just a lot of these guys that were here last year and are coming in this year are probably going to be in the NBA. So you can't get much better than that all the way around.
I know, that is so awesome. And I was excited last year. I'm pumped for this year and what's going to be happening. But folks, we have a special treat. Not only are we going to be talking about it, we have got the masterminds behind it with us today. We're going to pass the mic around and start with Mr. Dan Prete. Dan, do you want to introduce yourself and tell the people what your role behind this is?
Sure. Thanks for having us. First of all, my name is Dan Prete, and I've been coaching for 30 years and have been running tournaments on the national scene for probably about 15 or 16 years. And we started them for a couple of reasons. It was bringing notoriety to our school, our players, but for me, it was giving me 3 home games against national competition, which was huge.
Yeah.
And that's how it kind of blossomed from there. And with that, I realized you could promote the school, the area, the economy, the businesses in the town just through high school basketball, which was, as you went on in your career, I noticed you could start to do that. So when I resigned, that's when from basketball coaching, I continued to run the tournaments, and last year was the first year. So my wife and myself and Matt and Glen Cross decided to start a nonprofit to continue to run the tournament that we had already started. So that's my role behind it. I kind of have a contract, or I shouldn't say kind of, I do have a contract with Nike to help run these events, and we're have ESPN as our partners that will televise the games.
Awesome.
So that's kind of my role, getting it all put together, and then I depend on all these guys that kind of help push it across the finish line.
Well, thank you, Dan, and we look forward to kind of breaking that down here for you in a minute. Let's continue around the room. Matt, tell us about yourself.
Well, I'm Matt Redinger. Most of your listeners are going to know who I am. I'm athletic director at Southern High. Coached like Dan, 30 years, spent a lot of time coaching against, Commissioner Edwards at times and so forth. And when Dan asked me to jump on board with this last year, it took me about half second. I'd gotten out of coaching after of having been part of that McDonald's game, and when Dan brought this up, I was like, yeah, I think this is something I'd like to jump on board with. And last year, I would say if you attended it, it was pretty incredible. We talk about this a lot here over the course of, and I know we're going to talk about it here in a little bit, but it's probably 30 to 40% better than last year at this point in terms of the team and the players. So this is something neat for our county. Having grown up here, Paul and I are from here. Like this is something that you don't really see here, right? And so to bring this level of player here and what they're going to do in the future is just really remarkable. And it's something that I think the county will be super proud of and will jump on board to watch. And again, it was important for Dan to involve our local schools, and we've been able to do that.
That's really cool. And I think you raise a good point. How many of those guys are going to go on to professional careers, and Garrett County is going to be a part of that story.
Yeah.
And we hope that they remember that and come back and spend all their money here, buy houses.
Right,
and,
absolutely.
Absolutely.
Well, and Connor, it's neat that you brought that up because, and I can speak because I witnessed this when one of the teams stayed. Several teams stayed at various houses, right? So one group was on the corner of the lake, okay, out by Blakesley, and the one young man was like, "Wow, there's a lake over there. There's a bedroom, then there's a living room, there's a living room, then a bedroom. I'm going to buy this house."
Nice.
It's so ironic. That's something on that kid's radar. And he says, "I want to move here," and so that was a big impression on some of those kids.
That's powerful. Awesome. Well, let's keep it going around the room. Up next.
I'm Glen Cross. I'm the Director of Development for Interim Elite, and I got paired up with Dan at Bishop Walsh as a major gift officer, and Dan came in and set up a great basketball program there, put us on the map. I'm originally from Carmel and actually went to Bishop Walsh, and actually played against some guy named George Edwards in a scrimmage up here way back in time, so that's telling you how old I am. But no, we, Dan brought in the idea of this kind of a tournament, and it's just been absolutely a great thing, the notoriety that it brings to the area. The people that I have seen come through here who are now in the pros, I actually forget the one guy. He was the one guy that took off after LeBron James here a couple years ago. He played for La Lumiere, I think. But they're on the national scene. We look at players that played at Bishop Walsh become players of the game against Duke last year in the end, or 2 years ago, I guess, in the NCAA tournament. And it just my job and actually Don and Matt is raising money for it, and it takes money to put this on. People have to fly in, people have to be housed, and that's our job, is to make sure that can happen.
That's awesome.
That's it in a nutshell.
Yeah, thank you for sharing, Glenn. We got one other guy here, Ron. Ron, tell us all about yourself.
Yeah, I'm Ron Bittinger. I'm first off from First United Bank, also from Allegor Officials Association. And I can say I've been yelled at by pretty much
Everybody at the table.
so thank you for that. I've been introduced to Dan, a few years ago, obviously as an official, and I learned quickly that Dan, he loves basketball. He's very passionate. You can see it in his face and the emotion when he's yelling at me. But at the end of the day, with that being said, hey, we shake hands, be friends, and just love basketball together. We're happy to be part of it as officials. It's super cool for my officiating staff to say, hey, I refereed that guy. He's playing on TV right now, playing in the NBA. So even as officials, we're fans. We love the game. We determine who's right, who's wrong during the game. But more importantly, we're fans. We love the game. And this event right here, for Garrett County is huge. It's huge for Garrett County. As a Garrett County resident myself, I just can't even put words to how huge this event is. To bring this attention right here to Garrett County, get eyes on the TV looking at us, looking at how, hey, yeah, we're not a bunch of hillbillies from the sticks. We know basketball, we know how to put on a show, and we can do an awesome job. So happy to be here, absolutely.
Well, and we can argue, and you guys can borrow this. We're going to have the best backdrop in basketball. I'm going to put that there. Tagline: 1%. That's all you got to share with me now. So I'm gonna turn this over to Dan. Dan, tell us a little bit about the inspiration behind this. You get 30 years in coaching. What takes you to the next step? What drives you to create a tournament like this?
I worked for a gentleman named Stu Vetter, and when I was with him as his associate head coach for years, we used to go to a tournament in Honolulu. And there was a gentleman out there named Glenn Young who started the Alani Classic. And it was to bring people to the islands. It was to showcase basketball, but more importantly, he wanted to bring people from the States over to Hawaii. This was back in the 80s. And he did it through basketball. It developed, it turned into a disease where the school and the kids and the community just fell in love with basketball, and it helped them build a new school. And I got a chance to know this man, and we would go back there every year, and every year I would pick his brain because I was a young coach and wanting to learn and see more and hear more of how he did this. And so I kind of took that from him, kind of his philosophy of what he was trying to do, and kind of put our own little spin on it, where we were trying to promote our program, our school in the area that I was coaching at. And so that's where it kind of all came from. And like I said, as a coach, I would get, when you go play some of these teams and you're undermanned, on the road it's tough. At home it's not as tough, it's still just tough. And so that was kind of how we all started all of this. And using other people's ideas to try to build it into what we turned this into. And we ran it down at in Hagerstown for a while, and then at Bishop Walsh, and then when came up here. And Matt's telling part of the truth. He convinced me a little bit to come up here to do some of this up in this area, and those are our goals up here also. So we've been ranked as high as number 2 in terms of tournaments in the country.
Wow.
And hopefully we can continue it. This is unlike any other tournament in the country because you have a different, a lot of these tournaments are called concrete tournaments. They're in a city, they're in a hotel, they get on a bus and they go play a game and they go right back to the hotel and then they fly out. Here, there's so much more. There's scenery. The kids last year didn't understand what making snow meant up on Wisp, and some of the kids from California were standing there in shorts and practice tank tops, watching them make snow up on this hill, and didn't know what to do with themselves. They wanted to go run and jump in the snow because they didn't see that. So they get so much more out of this area, and that's why the ESPN loved it, and Nike loves the idea of what we're doing, and how it's being run, and more it's community driven than it is just a concrete type event. So we're excited to just keep building it, until it gets to a point where we're very comfortable with hopefully creating some more for the youth around here.
Nice. Well, speaking of the youth, I think I'm going to turn it over to Paul. Paul, could you run these guys through some of the reasons why this is such a good thing for a community, for kids, for overall growth in the area, an event like this?
Yeah, it's the economic aspect of it is a given. It's heads in beds, it's restaurants, it's accommodations tax, it's buying gas, it's grabbing Gatorades at the corner store. It's all of that stuff, and that's always good for a community. But in this case, it's more than that, and I really appreciate what Dan said and what Matt said. And not just do our kids get the exposure and being able to play on a little bit of a bigger stage, which is always good for them, but they also get to see the level and quality of athlete, to Matt's point, they don't necessarily always get to see. So there's that you would have to travel somewhere. A lot of our kids, quite frankly, can't do. Now they get to see the next NBA player right here in Garrett County playing on our courts that they play on. So that's an experience you can't duplicate without an event like this. So I think that's big. We had a lot of youth league players that came in last year. They got to see what was going on. The sense of pride the community can have. You just listen to those names that that Dan brought up. You're talking about Nike. You're talking about ESPN. You're talking about the world leaders in sports that have international name recognition, and that's being tied right to Garrett County, Maryland. So there's a sense of community pride to be associated with something like that. And then back to Dan's point, and I can appreciate as the Director of Athletics for Garrett County Public School System, as I transitioned out of coaching and just a competitive spirit of wanting to win and getting a much more altruistic vision, I should say, of sport. The young student athletes we're bringing into this area from other parts of the country are seeing a landscape that they may not have ever seen before. Mm-hmm. So it's enriching to them as well as it is to all of us. And then to your point previously, you never know, how many of these guys that go on to bigger and better things, and or their families that say, hey, I want to go back and vacation there, or hey, I want to buy a house there, or who knows what opportunities that we won't even realize for another 5, 10, 15 years down the road from this. But, the economic impact, just the exposure of our community, not to mention the opportunity that's presented to Garrett College. Having those people on campus, having the exposure on TV of what this campus is and what facilities we have here. Will any of those young men come to Garrett? It's probably unlikely that many of them would. You never know. But other people that are tuning in to watch this that play basketball may be very interested in that. So again, just the overall comprehensive benefit to this county is immeasurable, really, when you get to something of this level and this magnitude. And really appreciate and want to thank Dan publicly. It's a big commitment to come here. And kudos to Matt for helping bring this together and getting this on Dan's radar to bring it here. It's fantastic, I think, for all of us. So it's great. It's great all the way around.
Thank you, Paul. So tell me, gentlemen, how long has this tournament been in existence? Is this our second year? How many years down the line are we?
Well, I guess if you're talking about the pureness of the name Western Maryland Classic, this will be year number 2.
Okay.
I think if you go back and add wherever a Dan Prete run tournament would be 12, 15 years.
Wow.
But for Garrett County, I guess with our logo of Western Maryland Classic, this will be year 2. And so however you want to word that, I guess.
Yeah, and
very cool.
For a second-year tournament or even a first-year tournament, to be able to have it on ESPN and the networks and have SportsCenter Next or League Ready, their platform that they give us, is kind of unheard of. And I'll say it's a lot because of the past we've had and the success we've had. So they trusted that this would be successful. Yeah. And we get a different level of media coverage around the country that most events don't get because of that.
Nice.
And hopefully that will continue. And as Paul said, every time down the court someone's running by the Garrett College sign, and it just takes that 1, 2, 3 people go, whoa, where's that? And the way the world is changing right now in college sports, where there's a lot of this NIL and transfer and all of this, there's a lot of kids that are starting to go to junior colleges and community college because they're not going to the same levels that they used to go. So there's a huge opportunity for a school like Garrett to jump on.
That's
to
awesome.
see that, and when people see that gym, people don't realize. People think that this is a mid-major Division I gym, and you're not realizing it's a community junior college in Western Maryland. It's incredible what is up there. So that's another huge driving force where you're going to see hopefully more people start to get interested in the school and the gym because of that, because that's, people want to sponsor themselves at places like that.
Absolutely, and I think, Paul, you could probably agree with the sentiment. I think we punch well and above our weight when it comes to facilities. I think that's probably the sentiment a lot of people share is, wow, this is available here.
Yeah, I'll tell you, we just met with the president and some of the board members yesterday, talking about some future plans for the college, and the comment I made yesterday, and I'll stand by it, to your point, you'd be hard pressed to find junior college facilities athletically anywhere in the country to rival what we have here at Garrett. You look at what we did with the field, the new turf field with soccer and baseball. The gym is just amazing. To have a pool associated with that, the fitness facility, all of the stuff. And I appreciate what Dan said. Yeah, you would think this is not a junior college. Just seeing it on TV or seeing pictures of it, it doesn't come off as a junior college facility. It comes off as a 4-year institution. Garrett is just a great facilities all the way around.
Nice.
Yeah, in fact, Con, not to there were people that came last year that asked what conference Garrett was in Division II. Yeah, they're junior college. So that's people thought this was really actually thought with feedback that this was a 4-year school.
Nice. I'm going to turn this over to you guys to tell us a bit more about the quality of athletes we're going to see. Where are these folks coming out of?
We have teams from all over the country, and actually a team from Canada also. And as Matt said earlier, our schedule has probably increased with about 30 to 40% with some better teams. I mean, and we had some really good ones last year. But some of the legendary teams that are coming this year, Oak Hill Academy's coming, and Oak Hill's been one of my arch rivals for 30 years until I stopped coaching.
Oh, wow.
I'd like to say my last game I coached, we beat them. So I'll just throw that out there. But they are, when this all started with these national programs, there was about 4 or 5 of them, and they were one of them. And so
Wow.
that's how they became very close to us, and they've been going on for years. And they had a player named Carmelo Anthony, which I'm sure everybody's heard the name before. His son plays for Long Island Lutheran. That's coming to this.
Oh, no way.
So they'll be up here also. Fantastic, probably a top 5 program in the country is coming in. Brewster Academy was here last year. Finished in the top 12 in the country. And this year will probably be better than that. They'll be back, and I'll be excited to see them. They had a kid last year that was here that got hurt, that didn't play in this tournament, and he's a senior this year, so I think we're all excited. Dwayne Aristad, he's, I think, top 10 player. I think he's number 12 in the ESPN rankings of players.
Wow.
So I'm excited to see him as a coach because we didn't get a chance to see him play last year. They'll be here. Sunrise Christian, he's played in the national championship game a few years back. They're coming out here. They're from Kansas. Paul VI, which is from Fairfax, Virginia, actually made it to the Final Four last year. And they will be here this year playing a team called Collegiate out of New Jersey, which will be an incredible game. Ron and I were just going over that we need really, really good officials for that one because that'll be a tough one.
Well, and that's a kind of a good question, Ron. How do you feel going into this as an official? It sounds like we have some of the top performing athletes around the nation. Are you guys ready? You pumped for this?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have a really good staff here, and I've done a good job at networking and bringing people from all over the area. I was showing Dan the staff I have assigned to that game at this point, just kind of looking down the road a little bit. And I've got 3, college level officials assigned to that particular game, and college officials on most of the games. Like I said with the opening comments, I mean, we're fans of the game first. We love the game. My playing days are long gone. And this is another opportunity for us, for me and our officials to be involved in the game and stay, involved. And as far as, the caliber of players, it's looking at coaches, they have their perspective of basketball, and they go back to the player day too. They have that perspective. And then, I tell people when I played basketball, I was kind of the mean, physical player, and I wanted to win, and I didn't care what it took to beat you. Even some people might call it dirty tactics, to win. And now that I'm an official, I put the stripes on. It's like I have a completely different perspective of the game, and that perspective is one that most people don't have. And for me to become an official and become pretty good at the craft, it's kind of eye-opening for me, and also very humbling to look back at my youth and go, oh wow, I was kind of a jerk, and I almost want to apologize to the officials that I officiated my games years ago. And to that point, I actually had one of my newer staff members. He was I've refereed, him in his post-high school days and some rec leagues and whatnot. I refereed his kids, and he became an official last year. And this is the last person I would ever expect to become an official, and he did. And I thought, okay, this ought to be good. And he refereed a few games. He was doing a pretty good job, and he actually came to me. I was getting ready to walk on the court for a varsity game. He had just done a freshman game. He says, "Hey, Ron, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry for the way I acted." I was like, oh my gosh, I could not believe, here's a guy who behaved that way, and he just apologized to me. So I was like, wow. But, again, from an officiating perspective, these caliber players here, it's just, like I said, we're a fan number one. But also, too, I mean, candidly, I should maybe shouldn't say this out loud, but these games are actually easier to officiate because these games, in a sense, they're cleaner. What I mean by that is, yes, they're physical. These kids can run like deer. They can jump out of the gym. They can dunk anytime they want to, practically. But these kids know the game really well. They're really smooth at it, and our job is just get out of the way, let them play, call the obvious. I mean, typically when these kids foul, you can it's a foul. Everybody in the whole gym can see it, okay? Because you don't have these kids falling down, tripping over their own 2 feet. They're just so athletic. We just get out of the way and call the obvious. And most people would like, wait a minute, you're telling me that it's easier to officiate this level versus like a middle school game? 1,000% yes. Because, middle school games, those kids are just learning the game. They're still growing, somewhat clumsy, you might say. Sometimes they have a hard time walking and chewing gum at the same time. You use that proverbial little lingo. But these kids that come to this event here, they're just unbelievable athletes. And, as officials, we don't want to be the center of attention, not even close. I mean, we basically say it's almost cliche to say, hey, our objective is to, when that game's over, for the people to go, who officiated that game? We don't want to be known or recognized because they're not there to see us. They're there to see, these kids and these athletes and the futures that they have the potential, to have here. So, as an official, I mean, this is super exciting. Just to have this opportunity, and it's fun for us. We really enjoy this.
That's great.
We love this. And Dan, I'll follow you. Let's go somewhere else and have another one.
Well, you can tell already, you got a passionate group of guys here that are going to have just as much fun as the kids. And, it makes sense that these athletes a lot of them are going to go to that next level of professionalism, so they take it seriously. They act very much as professional as the guys that do it in the big show. So let's dig into this event a little bit. We're excited. This is going to be a big deal coming up right over the top of the year here. Tell us a little bit about how we get involved with this. I understand there's going to be some opportunities for sponsorships out there. There's going to be opportunities for volunteers. Can we kind of run down that process for someone that's hearing this, or someone that was involved last year may want to double down? Break that down a little bit.
Connor, we definitely we relied a lot on the community and sponsorships to put it on. I can tell you, obviously you being a Southern kid, you remember we had that Christmas tournament and the budget for that was very minimal. This is obviously much different because you're flying people and you want to impress them. You want them to come back. So as Paul and Dan, everybody has spoken, it's such a great thing. You also have to make sure that everybody that comes to it has a good time.
Yeah.
And is impressed, right? So to do that, it takes some money. So yeah, there's economic benefits to the county, but we also have to have a budget. It's pretty big, so we need our sponsorships and people that are listening that did it last year. We hope that you'll renew that, bring it back. Dan and I and the group have discussed. And Dan, correct me if I'm wrong. The term has never had a major corporate sponsor, right? And we're kind of pursuing that with a couple of entities. Hopefully that'll work out because that gives you advertising time, and so forth. And that's pretty intriguing. I think if you're sitting there as a businessman, CEO of something, boy, if I pay a good amount, I get some airtime on ESPN. Or one of the ESPN family of networks, right?
Yeah.
So that's a big deal to me, and I think so yeah, you're helping us, but we're helping you because we're getting your name out, right?
Absolutely.
And we also have different levels of sponsorships where you can sponsor a team, and as Dan emulated, and Paul talked about, we're on Garrett College's courts on ESPN, right? As the camera pans, well, so was some signs, right? Signage is out there too, and so that's a big deal as well, So obviously, the big thing, in my opinion, being a Garrett Countyan, is you're playing a game. The camera's on the sign. Someone comes to visit. They say they remember that person was on the sign. They saw it on TV, and then they go frequent that restaurant or go rent from that real estate agency or whatever it may be. Right.
Yeah.
And so I think that there's all people like sometimes feel like there's just a take. Well, there's a give and take here, right?
Yeah.
And so obviously, anytime you're doing something as first class as this, it does take some money to do it.
Yeah.
And I think we've tapped into some various other entities this year, and we're quite certain that we're going to make that happen. In fact, when this is over, I think we meet with the chambers. The Chamber of Commerce here. So,
well, it's exciting. I mean, you're talking about national coverage. You're talking about a great opportunity for local businesses to be involved. That want to see some more attention. We say we have a statistic that we use in Maryland from our Maryland Economic Development Association. It says for every $1 that's invested in economic development, $9 is generated into the local economy. So, I mean, it's a huge thing. And the same can be said for marketing and advertising your business. In great events like this, it's what helps the wheels turn. Now, tell me a little bit about this partnership with Nike and ESPN. How do you develop that, and what's their involvement in this process going to look like?
So they started by, I guess during the pandemic years, we all got together as some independent schools to try to create our own conference. And that's how it was started. It went through a company called Paragon Marketing, which is the marketing company for ESPN. And so from there, we developed this national conference that just kind of started to grow. And that's what Glenn and I were part of while we were at Bishop Walsh. And with that, we needed places to play. And since Glenn and I had already been running tournaments together, we just said, well, let's now run it with them. So they come, and the difference is they give you their platform, which means their Instagram, their X or Twitter or whatever it's called now, and then they put games on television, their networks, one way or the other. Last year they were on the League Ready YouTube channel, which was free to the world.
Awesome.
That was a great opportunity that way. This year they're putting it on the networks, and as we get closer to the event, which is January 30th, 31st, and February 1st, it will be dictated where they'll put it on their networks. And as Matt was saying, a major sponsor, if one came about, they would get commercials during those games.
Oh, excellent.
And in order to buy, commercial time for ESPN, you're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars. Well, this is nowhere close to that.
Yeah.
So they're actually getting a pretty good deal where they get X amount of commercials during this event that will go out. The good thing about these events is they're usually they're kept on air, whether it's through League Ready or ESPN Plus or whatever it may be, even after the events are over.
Oh, nice.
So, for example, last year they talked about the Western Maryland Classic at Garrett College after the event at other events. So then people would just go, "Oh, where's that at?" And they would Google it that never knew about it. So
Wow.
this year at the events leading up until January, I'll just give you an example. Oak Hill will be traveling to Western Maryland to play at the Western Maryland Classic in Garrett County, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So that's how those things happen, and you're getting the word out to bigger groups of people that aren't from our region.
Right.
Well, I think it becomes a little more important for this area.
Yeah.
And that's what ESPN has done for this. This year, they are contributing some financially to us also because they like this event so much.
Awesome.
So, you know, we're going to continue to build, and hopefully every year we'll get a little bit bigger and better, and hopefully it'll become a mainstay. That's our goal.
Well, and it being year 2, you know, you have those guys coming back for their second, so they know that we're here, right?
Yeah.
Like announcers and camera crews and so forth. So they're going to mention it a little more now. And then, as Dan said, we become a mainstay in year 3. And that's just something that's just, oh, hey, and by the way, we're going to Western Maryland to play in the
Yeah.
Western Maryland Classic, right?
And you know, another thing that I don't think we talked about, I mean, and I'm glad you just mentioned that, Matt. So you're going to have all the teams coming and their families and coaching staff and everyone affiliated with that. Then you're going to have all the camera crews and all the TV people coming. But then there's a whole other group of folks that are just basketball fans that have nothing to do. They're not tied to any of the entities involved in this. They just want to come and watch good basketball. And that can range from tens of people to hundreds of people to thousands of people, depending on how many people know about it and so on and so forth. Because, you know, the Alhambra at Frostburg brought people in from all over the place for
Yeah,
years and
yeah.
years and years. I mean, I can really see this tournament doing the same thing. That you'll just bring people in from all over the place that just want to come watch basketball. They don't have a kid in it. They're not affiliated with it. And, you know, that's a whole other group of people that are coming here, you know, buying food in our restaurants, staying in our hotels, and buying gas for gas and so on and so
Yeah.
forth. So this could really turn into a major event all the way around for Garrett County. That's one of those things where, like, the whole county's booked for 2,
Yeah.
3, 4 days because of what it's bringing to
Yeah.
the area.
Well, and I think what an exciting time of year
Yeah.
too. It just seems like there's nothing really happening in that January, February timeframe. So for this to come along, you know, what a great way to break out of your cold blues, your wintertime
Yeah.
blues, and just enjoy a great event where you can come together and just be around people. And the atmosphere alone, I'm sure, is going to be intoxicating just to be there and to watch these guys perform. And again, who knows when you're seeing the next LeBron James, your next Michael Jordan, your next super famous NBA player that's going to be down there on that court, and just the opportunity to say I was there, I saw it.
And real quickly here, what has happened with all of this is Nike has gotten involved, where they have taken, I should say, control and ownership of the conference.
Oh, great.
With a lot of these teams. And it's called the EYBL Scholastic Series now. And they're having a partnership with ESPN to put it on there. So they're Nike, so now you have 2 of the biggest companies that are involved in sports that are involved in Garrett County now.
Yeah.
So, trying to get the Nike executives to come out and visit the area is part of our goal. And hopefully they will here soon. The other thing is we chose these dates. Glenn and I have been very strategic. These dates are dates, even though they are in January. As a coach, you pick dates that are important to you, and the reason these dates are important is, and I don't want to let out too many secrets, but there's not very many national events going on at that time. So the whole world is watching this.
Yeah.
There's nothing else. There's no other
Awesome.
events around the country. Whereas other dates during the year, say, for example, a Christmas tournament or whatever, there's 10 or 15 national events going on. So
Yeah.
the media is all over the place. With this, there's nothing. That's
Incredible.
it. Last year we had it in December because we needed to get it started. This year we had a little more play, and we chose my old dates, which were when we could get more media coverage, whether it be .com people, whatever it is. Now this is
Yeah.
it. They have nothing else to cover but this now.
And I understand this is ESPN, like the prime channel. We're not talking about ESPN 8 or while it may
Correct.
filter down into those those other ESPN
I think
networks.
it can. So a lot depends on where teams are ranked when we get to the end of January. If you have 2 top 5 teams, it's going to be on ESPN regular.
Wow.
Right. I mean, if we're looking at some teams that have maybe lost a couple, but it's going to be on an ESPN platform.
Which is incredible. And it's going to be great, again, for the teams, for the region, an incredible event all around. If someone was looking to volunteer for the event, do you guys take volunteers? Do you need staff? What's that looking like?
Yes, always.
Gotcha.
We count on, obviously ticket takers and all those types of things. You know, we've used a lot of our relationships in the past to help. We had, Glen's wife, my wife, 3 wonderful ladies from down at our old stomping grounds that come up and help with the tables. But anything like that is huge. We can be messaged on Facebook about those things. Instagram, we have all those, just Western Maryland Classic.
Awesome.
On that, and yeah, any help is always helpful. To take pressure off of us running around all the time is great.
Awesome. Well, guys, I think this has been incredibly informative. You know, I'm so excited that this event is coming here for the 2nd year. We're looking to make it grow. We're looking to obviously add some promotional backing to this because it's going to be good for our region. It's going to be good for our players and good for our visitors. So I want to thank you all for coming in and talking about this today here on the Business Bear podcast. You know, this is a special live event that we're doing, and you guys have been a big part of that. So sharing this will be quite a big feather in today's crown. So again, I thank you for coming in and talking about this. Can you hit us with some websites and some communication outlets where someone can come in and learn more? There are some spectacular sponsorship. I mean, the value and the amenities that you're providing to the sponsors is just incredible. You know, I really can say that I don't think you're getting a value like this anywhere else. But also there's a lot that the community can get involved with and just learn more, buy tickets, everything. Where can they go to find that?
A lot of this information will start coming out now with tickets and all that. But, like I said, we're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. And then, you can always email us. And, I can read the email address. It's very simple. It's WMC@RIM, and then the number 2, rimelite.org. You can always get a hold of Matt up at Southern Garrett High School.
Yep.
He can help you. And, a lot of it will be directed to Mr. Cross over here to kind of organize and get it all put in the right, spot here. So, yeah, anything that people can do, it'd be great. We really need the help, and we want to continue this.
Awesome.
Yeah, but yeah, Colin, they tell everybody they can email me if they don't remember this address. Email me at the high school. Most of the county probably has my phone number from yelling at me about something I did wrong with sports. So people know how to get a hold of me. So if maybe a positive would be good, and hit me up for a sponsorship.
Awesome. Well, Paul, any closing thoughts?
No, I just think, I think you did a great job kind of organizing this and putting it together. I think the benefit and the opportunities provided the county is immeasurable, really. The sky's the limit, and it's great to partner with quality people that know what's going on and to have a vested interest in seeing this grow for everyone that lives here. It's a great opportunity. I'm very excited about it, and I appreciate everybody's efforts in that.
All right, guys. Thanks so much. I think that's going to be a wrap. Is that hard?
Great.
All right, we'll close it up.
Those things are fun. You do a great job. I'm proud of you, brother.
Oh, thank you.
We always
I
do.
think Kim's right. I don't know if I'll be able to fit out the door